Was living back then as one of my grandfathers, and they would have laid this out with full and honest disclosure of the terms and conditions and cut us in on the deal like they were supposed to, and how it was actually truly set up rather than hide it from us, indoctrinate us, and keep us slaves. I would have said, hell yeah, let's vote for this thing, and so would everyone else in America. That we could have had utopia on earth a lot sooner. But they kept us away from our trust. They didn't tell us about it. They did it through fraud and deceit and conniving means. How many of you were taught the foundling, or it's called the Child Act, where hospitals were made foundling? Mothers? Were you ever taught that you walked into a foundling hospital? Where's that brass plaque on the front of the door? How about a birthing ward? How about the definition of a doctor? Where was the securities license agent when you walked into that birthing ward? Where was the insurance agent? Where was the attorney who set up the trust to explain it, the terms and conditions to you? Where was the prospectus given? You see what I mean? How come that you signed as an informant? Were you told what that means, to sign as an informant? To give someone else up to another? Were you told the legal definition of that word? No. That's called fraud, deceit, no viable contract. Yet here we are. Hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank for each of us and no access because nobody told you you even had one. They did the bond, they did the insurance policy, they went to the bank, they created the management fees, they've been managing it all these years, and they've been pretty good money managers. They've earned half the money. It was a partnership agreement under the Public Charitable Trust. It's where people like Denny get in trouble. He goes and takes it 90 to 100 million out. And, you know.
It's only half of the money in the CUSIP account is yours.
So in the hospital, they're going to make you fill out the form. Okay? But let's just say you're in the hospital and you got to fill out the form. They're going to force you to do it. You have the ability to put a line through that word informant and maybe write mother and sign it. You can alter any contract, right? With just a line of your initials, right? See? Ask an attorney. They'll tell you this. So here's the thing. You don't have to fill it out exactly the way they want to lead you to believe.
I would under duress on that one. Or I wouldn't fly.
I wouldn't. You want that contract. You just want it done right. You want that CUSIP number. They've been good money managers and they're going to put up the upfront money. It's not like you're doing it. They're going to manage it for you. It's not like you're going to have to. There's nothing wrong with that system except the deceit and the no disclosure, and they didn't cut us in on the deal. Well, once we know, right? Once we know, we can use it. We can take advantage of it.
The title company will put a promissory note in front of you and your wet signature, which is worth millions that you don't know about. They say, oh, thank you for signing that promissory note. I'll be right back. And then they take it off and they send it to the Federal Reserve and the account funds immediately and the seller's paid off. And you spot the home, note free. Your money, your signature paid off the debt. The bank was just the pass-through, right? It's paid for as soon as you sign. Your signature's worth millions. Then they put a document in front of you saying, please sign here. There's 80 pages, and this is for that, and this is for that, and this is for that. You never see another signature on those documents, right? So how is it a contract? Doesn't meet one of the 8 elements. And a lot of times you're signing all kinds of foolish things to pay back the loan, when how can it ever be a loan when it's your money to begin with that came from the Federal Reserve that's held in trust for you, that you don't even know you have, that funds the account is already paid for. Now you're going to pay it back to who? Pay it back to the bank for being a pass-through? Compounded daily interest. Do you see the fraud and racketeering in mortgages? That's how it works. So when you introduce silver coin, which under Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution, Art 1, Section 10, silver and gold pay off debts. So what I did is I sent this lovely little picture of George Washington on a pre-1965 minted U.S. silver quarter, sent it to Chase Bank, told him it's linked to this account number you have. This is not a refinance, it's to pay off the debt. And 3 weeks later, to do online banking, you go on and it says zero balance. 3 weeks later, Chase Bank. $438,000 mortgage was paid off with the silver quarter. And you could be more generous than I was. You send him a silver dollar. You know, I think the going price for spot on silver right now is about 35. Somewhere between 28 to 35 an ounce. You need to buy as much of it as you can. Is she'll take up, because now you're going to create evidence that you did this, right? So you're going to lay this lovely letter. And now mind you, if they weren't satisfied with the quarter, I was going to give them my wet signature again. So all rights reserved. You know what that means, right?
Paying off mortgage, part 2.
No. Well, it means a lot of things. And then I think I had a notary, but either one, you can do 2 witnesses or a notary. 2 witnesses is biblical. And it really keeps it in the common law, so 2 witnesses is very strong. It's all wet signatures. Do it in blue or purple ink. Blue is for contracts, purple is royalty, red is living. When you use the color of the pen, it's kind of important. Black is dead. And those colors have meanings. What's interesting is red is living and blue is contract, and red and blue make purple. So isn't it interesting that living and contract is purple? Use the purple, the colors themselves, red and blue make purple. Blue means contract. When you go and buy a house, the title company is always going to have you use blue ink. Why is that? It's contract law, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to take this and you're going to tape with a piece of tape that quarter so it's not moving around when it's in the mail. You're going to lay this on your photocopy machine. You're going to photocopy it. And that mail label 200 goes right up here at the top, right? That red label. You're going to photocopy that red label to the top, and then that same label is going to go on the outside of the envelope. So now it's become a postal document, just like David had mentioned in your court cases. Your stamp goes here. That really should be more in the middle. Return address, this is to Chase Bank right there. So that is photocopied onto this letter, and then it's peeled off and the sticker goes on the envelope. You're going to photocopy this letter telling Chase exactly what you want them to do with the quarter. Pay off the debt, link to this account, link to this lot 5, block 22, 14 acres, or whatever it is that is a proper legal description of your land. I don't call it property or real estate personally. I call it land and improvements thereon. Did you know land is not taxable? Land is not taxable. Property is. Don't call it property. Call it land. Look it up in your state constitution. The one y'all haven't read, I'd read it. Right? There's good stuff in there. Oh, one thing is I was going to tell you about. We have U.S. Supreme Court decisions that talk about privacy. We don't have privacy rights specifically enumerated in the Texas Constitution, but guess what my Florida brothers and sisters have in theirs? It's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The right to privacy. Every natural person has a right to be let alone and free from governmental intrusion. Did y'all know this was in here? This is your fighter. This is your fighting document. So many of my new brothers and sisters that I've met this weekend have asked me, Bonnie, where do I start reading? I'm so excited to learn. I want to learn. Please tell me where to start. You start with your Bill of Rights in your state. You have to own it. It has to be wired in your heart and wired in your brain so that it comes out your mouth in time of need, because you have to be prepared at all times to interface with anybody that would violate your rights. Okay? Anytime. It's got to be in your heart and your brain. You can't say, "Excuse me, Mr. Police Officer, let me go get my little pocket constitution. I'll be back." No. Have it in here and in here where it's coming out of your mouth so fast they have nothing else to do. And they don't accept this something of value
That code right
when you're trying to pay off the debt.
UCC3.
It's paid for. So if they keep your money, it's paid for. If they send the money back to you, it's paid for. And that's underneath these two codes. Right there. They're toast. That's why when you go to pay your taxes with a silver quarter at the county's office and you say, "Here, I'm just here to pay the taxes on the debt," because you get to pay all debts with what? Article 1, Section 10 says silver and gold pay off debt. Call it a debt, because that's what it is. If they're taxing you, you're just here to pay the debt. They'll say, "Oh, no, it's not a debt, it's a tax." No, it's a debt. Right? You're going to try and leave my property if I don't pay. I'm here to pay. A lot of times you can ask them, "How do you want me to pay?" They're never going to answer that question. Pay with a silver quarter. They'll start hissing. Their fangs and horns will come out. They don't want that silver because it pays off the debt. Do you understand how powerful that silver coin is? It is power packed. They don't want you to know this stuff. They want that debt because really they want to flip your property and turn it. That's what they want. Pay off your debt. Send them that silver coin, registered mail. Therefore, you know you got it. You're going to create evidence because you're going to put this whole page showing the silver quarter is taped to the page. You're going to put that on your photocopy machine. You're going to photocopy it so you've got proof later in case you need to take them to task and sue their butts in federal court to get rid of the debt. And you're going to take it underneath the Uniform Commercial Code, right here and right here, under the First Amendment, Article 1, Section 5, Article 1, Section 21, which we just read in your state's constitution. Pay off the debt. They're not dissolving the debt like they're required.
Date and time.
Accepted for trust authorized payment.
David Lester, straight all caps, vessel,
I'm receiving
by a line, hyphen, executor, and that line is where I sign it very clearly and legibly in purple, just like that. For trust authorized payment. And then I put my seal. Now, I take the presentment and I mail it back to the utility company. Now, that's not going to just work all by itself the first time, because we have to train there's no other kings in that utility company district. So you have to train the utility company. This is where people, "Oh, I tried that and it didn't work." Don't give up, don't give in. This is how you do it. I'm going to tell you. You send a cover letter and you say, "Here's my check for temporary payment. Please send the acceptance invoice to your bank with the instructions to have it sent to their corporate head legal department." You're going to pay your bill, light bill, temporarily for 2 or 3 months, because you're going to do this every month for 2 or 3 months. And once it takes the time to get to their bank and get to their legal department at the corporate headquarters, which might be in, New York or somewhere, Delaware, then their corporate attorneys will access the trust and pay the utility company and deposit in their account. But that there's a delay there, and you don't want your lights to go off. So you're going to pay it, and you're going to watch your invoice, and pretty soon you're going to have a credit, because it'll get paid twice. once from your check and once from your trust. Now, person, you got a credit. Once you have a credit, you send a cover letter that says, please use my available credits for this month's bill. Now, if the bill ends up a partial month that is, it's maybe more money than you have credit left, you say, please use the balance of my credits for the partial payment of this month's bill, forward this invoice to the legal department at your bank headquarters. These are Federal Reserve banks, guys. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase Manhattan, and a million other banks are all Federal Reserve banks that work with the Federal Reserve System. And where's your account held? In a Federal Reserve Bank. Mine's in the Federal Reserve Bank in Cleveland. Federal Reserve banks get to deal with Federal Reserve banks.
What if you're in a credit union?
Well, you're probably shit out of luck. No, okay. All credit unions deal with big banks.
Okay.
But now you got another step to jump through, because they ain't gonna know diddly squat.
Yeah.
They don't deal with the, credit unions don't deal with the Federal Reserve. So another thing you can do is open a little savings account with Wells Fargo, and now you have access to a Federal Reserve bank,
Okay.
or Bank of America, or whatever you want to do. Okay?
So,
Don't do this
Still
yeah.
after.
until you're the king. You better have all your ducks in a row. And that's all the steps that I gave you, plus claiming your minor estate. And I try not to teach people how to claim your minor estate until after you've done the other steps. That's why there's multiple classes like
I don't
this.
know.
Because otherwise, people start going to jail. And people go, oh, it's following David Strait's process and I went to jail. No, no, no. I'm telling you how to stay out of jail. You screwed up. Don't make the claim to be the king until you're the king. It's that simple. This part, you don't do until you're the king. Once you're the king and you can sit on your throne and you're busy running your kingdom, you can start accessing your trust.